Okay, let's get straight to the point. If you've been scrolling through endless listings, wondering whether this behemoth is the right fit for your work and play setup, you're not alone. Nobody wants to drop a lot of cash on a desktop that either sits idle because it's overkill, or falls short because it can't keep up with the tasks you throw at it. You need to know if the HP Envy, with an i9-14900K, 64GB of RAM, and a massive 11TB of storage actually delivers the real-world value you're after. Link is in the description if you want to check the product details on Amazon. First, let's talk about the kind of day-to-day scenario this machine is built for. Imagine you're a freelance video editor who regularly renders 4K footage, a game developer compiling large Unity projects, or a data analyst juggling multiple massive datasets in Power BI. In those worlds, the processor's ability to sprint from 3.2 GHz up to 6 GHz isn't just a headline, it translates to noticeably shorter render times, smoother multitasking, and less waiting on background tasks. The 64 GB of RAM means you can keep several heavy applications open simultaneously without the dreaded out-of-memory warnings. For someone editing raw 8K video while also running a virtual machine for testing, that headroom is genuinely useful. Now, if your primary use is more modest, say, office productivity, web browsing, or occasional casual gaming, this setup might be overkill. You could probably get by with a mid-range desktop that has a 12-core CPU and 16 GB of RAM, saving you a few $100s that could be better allocated toward a larger monitor or better backup solution. So, who should buy it? Creators who need serious compute horsepower and a storage pool that can house a library of raw media files without external drives will find the Envy's specs line up nicely with their needs. Small businesses that run server-like workloads on a workstation, like hosting a local database or rendering a fleet of design files, are also a good match. Who should skip it? Anyone whose budget is tight, or who primarily uses cloud services where local storage isn't a factor. If you're a casual gamer who plays titles that sit comfortably under 1080p, the 8GB RTX card will feel more like an afterthought than a centerpiece. Also, if you're looking for a compact form factor, the Envy's tower footprint is standardized, not the ultra-slim profile you might find in a mini PC. Let's dig into the practical strengths. The storage configuration is a standout. A 1TB NVMe SSD handles the operating system, applications, and active project files with blistering speed, while the 10TB mechanical drive offers a massive archive space. In real life, this means you can install your editing suite on the SSD, keep your current projects there for instantaneous access, and dump finished footage onto the HDD without worrying about space. No need to juggle external drives or constantly purge old files. The GPU, an NVIDIA GeForce RTX with 8GB of GDDR6, is more than adequate for most modern titles at 1440p or 4K with medium-high settings. What's practical here is that up to 16GB total video RAM, note, because the system can allocate shared memory from the huge 64GB pool when needed. In practice, you'll see smoother frame rates in demanding titles like Cyberpunk 2077, and for creative work, the RTX's ray tracing cores accelerate rendering in supported software such as Blender or Unreal Engine. Connectivity is another win. Realtek Wi-Fi 6 and Bluetooth 5.3 give you fast, low-latency wireless networking handy if your office layout makes Ethernet runs cumbersome. The inclusion of a USB-C 5 gigabits per second port means you can hook up a fast external SSD or a modern monitor without needing an adapter. For those who still rely on wired networking for stability, the RJ45 Ethernet port is ready to deliver consistent gigabit speeds. Now the trade-offs. The first thing that pops up in user chatter is heat and noise. The i9-14900K can generate a lot of thermal output when it's pushed to its 6 GHz peak, especially during long rendering sessions. HP's stock cooling solution is decent, But you'll hear the fans spin up noticeably once the CPU throttles past a sustained load. If you value a quiet workspace, you might consider investing in an aftermarket cooler or placing the machine in a separate room. It's not a deal breaker, but it's a factor worth budgeting for. Another subtle downside is power consumption. Running a high-end processor, a full-size RTX card, and a large HDD array draws a respectable amount of electricity. For a home office that stays on the 24th of July, that adds up on the bill. It isn't the kind of thing you notice in a single month, but over a year it becomes a non-trivial expense. If you're environmentally conscious, look into setting power profiles or scheduling idle times to mitigate that. Finally, the price point. HP positions this envy as a premium workstation, and the sticker price reflects the top-tier components. You're paying for the headline-grabbing i9-14900K and the massive RAM amount, even if your daily workflow never fully taps the 64GB. If you can spread the cost over time or qualify for a business discount, the